Hello, I'm Johnny Rowland, your host of The Shooting Show, and certainly welcome to today's program. Well, friends, if you're watching us today, that means we're on again this week. I tell you, it's a kind of a strange deal when we just don't know. You know, we're trying, and thanks to so many of our good viewers' support, we are here again today. You know, it is cloudy. It's not that late this afternoon, but it is cloudy, it is dark, it is overcast, and you know what? That's sort of what our situation is as gun owners. It is definitely overcast. It is definitely storm clouds ahead because, friends, we say, you know, we keep saying every week that we're losing our rights to own firearms in this country, whether it's one of these great jungle guns or one of these great Kimber 1911s or Smith & Wesson revolver, whichever. You know, this morning I was watching Good Morning America. I have a little TV out in my shop, and I was out there working on some shells, and they had a piece on about supposedly gun safety. And what it amounted to was they were talking about how guns hurt people. Now wait a minute, friends, wait just a minute. You know, it's not the gun. This is no different from any other mechanical device with power. Chainsaw, electric drill, all kinds of things, a lawnmower, all kinds of things. And unfortunately, you know, so many of the schools will not teach gun safety. One of the few programs that really comes to mind that I applauded the NRA for is their Eddie Eagle program for children, saying if you go to someone's home, or if a little child goes and they find a gun that is unattended, they say leave the area, don't touch, go tell an adult. And you know, so many of the school systems, so many of the school districts will not allow that program to be taught because there's only one thing and one thing only that the anti-gun people have in mind, and that is total disarmament. Now this didn't start last week, didn't start last year, didn't start 10 years ago. This has been going on for many years because the one world socialists know that the only way to subdue a people is to disarm them, is to take their personal arms away. Someone said, well, heck, the government's got the A-bomb. Yeah, they do. They do. But you know what? If they try to enforce police tactics on us, the government's not going to launch an A-bomb against a city or a state. They're not going to do that. I don't believe that. However, they might send United Nations forces out to enforce the law or to take away our guns, as we have seen actual training video of foreign nationals training in this country, going from house to house, looking and confiscating firearms. Now, friends, they can't have their police state as long as we're on. They know it, we know it. You know, it's so difficult just being on the air, and I'm sorry about our satellite moves. Realize that next week we'll go back to G611 if we can stay on. We'll be on G611 next week at the standard time. But that's the whole reason that we've started our GRA as far as doing something about this and getting people motivated out around the countryside by putting materials in the hands of individuals and discussing a game plan on how we're going to write those letters to the paper and how we're going to call those TV stations and what we're going to do about this. And yes, what we're going to say to those elected representatives. This morning on the Good Morning America show, they said 40% of households in the United States have guns, have gun owners, right there, 40% of the household. Well, you know what, friends, how are we being overrun? That's why I am so disheartened with the National Rifle Association efforts or disefforts, whatever they're doing. We don't have time to turn them around, but we would like to invite you to join our Gun Owner Rights Association, because, friends, if we don't get some progress made, we don't start scoring some points, if we don't reach more people on television, if we don't get more airtime, we've only got a very few short years left. Talk to people from England. Just ask them what happened. They didn't have a Second Amendment in their Constitution, and their rights to gun ownership are essentially gone. Ask the people in Australia. Remember that picture we showed of the guns being destroyed in Australia? How many other countries you want to talk about? You know, and somebody made a point on the radio the other day. The Japanese are financing a study on how to disarm the American people. That's odd. Makes no sense at all. The Japanese don't have guns in their society. Of course, some of their industrialists don't mind making guns. Some of the finest shotguns and rifles made anywhere come out of Japan. But who knows, that may be stopped soon. Heck, there have been Brownings made in Japan. The Howell guns, Smith & Wesson, when they sold rifles and shotguns, they were excellent guns. But you see, the one world types, and we're not getting on any one group of people. We're talking about the one world types. The people that want to make us a gigantic socialist paradise worldwide. Well, you know what, friends? I don't care what those folks in China or those folks in Czechoslovakia or wherever, the Czech Republic now, I don't care what they want to eat every day. I want my own lunch. I don't want to ask them for permission for anything. I don't want to ask Kofi Annan for any bit of advice from the United Nations. I think the United Nations should be put out of American soil. It needs to be put somewhere else, done away with. We need to get out of the United Nations because, honestly, friends, we're losing our sovereignty. You want to help us? You want to help us stay on the air? You want to help in this fight? I hear from so many discouraged people, hey, friends, it's not over. We know what'll happen if we quit. We know what'll happen. If you want to join us in this fight, send $50 to the Gun Owner Rights Association, 327 Irvin Rowland Road in Dubberly, Louisiana. That zip code is 71024. If you want to do something about it, because you can see where your money goes. Another little idea we have, you know, we're always trying to come with some idea that will help us. A number of you folks out there have businesses, and probably you don't want it in an IRS audit or something, you wouldn't want a check or something going to the shooting show, a donation going to the shooting show or this project. Well, we got an idea, and I don't know if it's going to work or not. You know, friends, our Second Amendment is literally the teeth of the Bill of Rights. It keeps our Constitution in place. It keeps our Bill of Rights in place. You know, it's sort of like the foundation, sort of like a brick. Now, you know, friends, this is a very special brick here, because this is a brick that, and others, similar bricks, each one will be a little bit different. But you know what? How would you like to buy some landscaping equipment or some building materials? Buy a brick from the shooting show. This brick might be worth $100, might be worth $1,000. No set price on the brick. But you know what? If you had a check that was made out to, say, me, or you don't even have to list the project, you can just say, well, to Johnny. That's okay, because you know where the money's going to go. It's going to go to help keep us on the air. The profit, shall we say, from the bricks. But you know, we might write Gun Owner Rights Association on this brick. I might sign it if you so desire, if you'd like. And if you'd like to have that, heck, don't have to have that. This brick could be very useful. It's a tremendous paperweight. It could go in the walk going up to your house. And I'm saying this, friends, because we've got to raise some money. We have to. If we're going to stay on the air, we have to raise some money. We have to. We've got to buy more TV time. If we had a little money, there are some things we could do that would make our project money we simply cannot afford to do now. And some of you have been so good to us. But, you know, think about this. If you're in some sort of business or a job that you get government oversight and really are concerned, and I understand that, because, my goodness, we have professional people out there that deal with the government. The firearms manufacturers are scared to death. They're afraid they're going to lose a license or something. They're afraid to death to sponsor our program because we tell the truth. And I'm sorry if I make some of the government folks mad. I'm sorry. It's okay. I mean, you can go and get mad. But this is how it is. We're free Americans here. We don't want to change that. We want to get some of our freedom back. So, you know, this could be a cornerstone for your home. It could go on your mantle place, go above your fireplace on your mantle. You know, like I said, great paperweight. I'll tell you what, if we have to give up our guns, if it's all you got handy, you can throw it. You know. But this is just another idea we have. Would you like the brick? And whatever you can afford, if it's $50 or $100, just say you'd like the brick. And I tell you what, friends, if you like our name on it, I'll be happy to do that. But see, you could list this as building materials. And you know, friends, that's what we're doing. We're trying to build on our television time and build to reach more people. What do you think? Want to buy a brick? We'll sell you a brick. And it could be worth, you know, each one is definitely a piece of work, piece of art. It could be worth, like I said, $50. It could be worth $500. It could be worth $1,000. It could be worth $5,000 or $10,000. Hey, you're just buying building materials. You know, you can probably, a lot of you could write this off, and it's just building materials. And if you're worried about materials, well, get 2 bricks. You know? For real, friends, you know, we're trying to come up with some way that we can stay on the air and reach more people. It's got to be done with our message about guns. So if you'd like to have a shooting show brick, or wait, just a brick, building materials, construction materials, landscape materials, you know, like I said, you could write that off on your taxes, because this is home improvement right here. All kinds of great uses, as we said, and of course it is very symbolic to us, because our Constitution, the ability that we have to keep our Constitution in place, the other amendments in the Bill of Rights, literally depends upon the Second Amendment if we're going to keep them. We don't want a police state, friends. We don't want the United Nations governing us. I don't think you do. If you want more security, you know, if you want the ultimate security, I suppose you could let the government take care of you and just be locked up. That would be the ultimate security, but I don't think many of us want that. A lot of us would fight awfully hard to prevent that. So let's try this. So if you'd like to have an official brick from us here on the project, and we don't have to say shooting show, if you just want your standard artistic piece of brick here, or artistic brick, you know, we just send you a brick and invoice you for it. Have nothing to do with the shooting show. You make it out to me, and everything we make, bricks don't cost us that much. We've got a little profit margin there, hopefully, for the project. But you know what? This may be a way. And you know, we're looking for ways. We're looking for ways to survive. We're looking for ways to keep our freedom in place. And this television program is very important toward doing that. Will you help us? So if you'd like the brick, make out a check. Whatever you can, whatever you feel that you can, and send to 327 Irvin Rowland Road, Duberly, Louisiana. Just make the check out. Make it out to me, for that matter, if you want to, and just put on there for building materials, and we'll invoice you for building materials. And you know, if the IRS happens to, they say, whoa, you contributed to a gun project. Oh, I just bought building materials. That's just an idea. That's just an idea, and we don't want to do anything at all that is, we're not going to break the law at all. We're not going to do that. We can't afford to. So anyway, friends, so just an idea. Well, we have a great show for you today. We appreciate you being here with us. My goodness, I don't know if we'll be on next week or not, but you know what? I promise you this. I promise you, we're going to try. We're going to try. With your help, we can make it, and if we don't get help, well, we won't. But that's here and there. I promise you, we're going to try to have a program here next week. Well, let's get another shooting show underway. Let's take our jungle gun. Yeah, we've sold several of these actually to some viewers around the country, and anyway, they're just tremendous pieces of work. We have some bowling pins out here. Somebody called me up and said, "Hey, Johnny, would that jungle gun be a good bowling pin gun?" Well, bet it would. Let's find out. And by the way, if you've never shot bowling pins, I tell you, they're tricky. I think they'll jump out of your way sometimes, but they are somewhat hard to just knock over. They're pretty heavy. Well, let's have some fun with our jungle gun. Let's do it. Long about now. And I bet you thought I was going to shoot that water bottle with the jungle gun, right? Instead, let's use our experimental Kimber, and let's see how it does on that water bottle. We've actually got water in this one.
Stay tuned for more of the Shootin' Show after these important messages.
The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station.
Friends, here it is. This is the great Georgia Arms 45 DA Colt or double action Colt cartridge. This is the first major improvement on the Colt 45 since 1873. They have this in loaded cowboy ammunition. They're also selling brass, so you can load your own combinations. This cartridge case is absolutely a joy to work with. We're even seeing improved accuracy, we think due to the slightly larger rim on our 45 DA Colt case. You can get a free catalog, or you can order these from Georgia Arms, 1-800-624-6861 for their entire lineup, and please tell them you saw it here on our show. Now friends, of course, the cowboy load is mild but super accurate. And of course, you can take your hand loads up to the limit of what the loading manuals will allow. The great 45 double action Colt cartridge from Georgia Arms. Give them a call today, friends. A free phone call with a free catalog.
And let us remind you that Georgia Arms also has a complete lineup of other handgun cartridges, of course not just our DA Colt, but a complete line, including the 454 Casull, the 357 SIG, all kinds of neat things. If you're a police officer or a homeowner, you do want to have factory ammo in your gun if you have to use it for self-defense. Many advantages in that. Plus, they have the greatest line of rifle ammunition, most consistent, most accurate, best price that I'm aware of here in the United States. So please give them a call, friends, and please tell them you saw it on our show.
Now friends, as we started last week, we didn't get to finish our piece on it, but we were showing this M1 Garand. Now this gun has actually been converted to .308 Winchester caliber, and I think this is the last one that Clark Custom Guns has. And being as this is on Wednesday when we're taping this, it'll be Sunday before anybody sees it. It may be sold by then, but it's $649 special shooting show price. But for our intents and purposes today, we want to show a little bit of information about these guns. You know, the Garand was really the first successful semi-automatic battle rifle, and realized that its competition in World War II was a gun similar to this German Mauser. And of course the Germans chambered their guns for the 8mm Mauser. This one's in 7mm, but essentially, again, we're comparing similar guns today. And the M1 Garand was really a huge advance. Now realize that they had the BAR, which was a magazine-fed, fully automatic rifle, certainly at the end of World War I. But let's gain a little bit of perspective here. You'd think, well, this would be hugely advantageous over the bolt action, but the military planners at the time might not have thought so in the hands of the average soldier. One, they were very conscious of ammunition. The German armies had always been very thrifty. They were very conscious. They didn't want to give them bullets to literally spray around the countryside. They wanted aimed fire. And plus, another reason that I think the Garand is built like it is, you'll notice it is very, it's not very thick. Say right through the magazine area here, it has an internal magazine that is loaded with these in-block clips, and you'd think that was a huge disadvantage, such as and it does have a lot of disadvantages as compared to the later M14, but here is an advantage it has. Realize that all armies involved, the last war they had fought was in World War I. Realize that was trench warfare. So the guns being not very thick this way allow the soldier, if he's fighting from within a trench, to be much lower. Now this issue of height may not seem like too much to us today, but just look, we've got the M1 Garand on the sandbag and on the sure sight there. But see, we've got the magazine height for our M14 be the same thing for the M16, and if we have it as the same height as our sandbag here, look how much higher. Now 3 or 4 inches may not seem like a lot until you're being shot at. So I think that's one reason that this gun was designed the way it was, because like I said, they already had the BAR, which had box magazines very similar to the M14 magazine here. But let's take a look at how these two World War II era guns function and loaded. Let's take a look at that now. Now first, we'll look at the Garand. We have its bolt retracted here, and this is really kind of a Rube Goldberg, for those of you that are old enough to remember those cartoons. This was your internal magazine. This little piece here is free in the center to move back and forth, and this depresses down, and you got to be real careful because there's something called Garand thumb, because this thing does fly forward. I've got a reminder that it did get me a few days ago. But this is a good system. Tell you the truth, it doesn't really look like it worked, but it does, and it works really well. This particular piece right here is a spacer for when it was rechambered to the .308 Winchester cartridge. And apparently, like I said, these guns were built for the Navy. And I don't know if they had a budget crisis or what, but they decided to convert a bunch of the Garands to the .308 caliber. And over here on our Mauser, very simple action, very rugged, and the way it loaded, you had a clip right here, the little clipping cartridges together. This is actually correct. This is a clip. This is a magazine. This is a clip. This, for that matter, is a clip. But now I note that even some of the magazine companies are starting to call them clips, so that's a case where a colloquialism has supplanted proper usage, but that's okay. We won't worry about that right now. Okay, here's how this thing worked. These guns held 5 rounds, and you would insert a clip right here in the little groove here, see? And the way you loaded the gun, you just pressed them down. And it was a good system, you know, it worked. And then you had 5 rounds in the gun. And you just discarded the clip right here. Now then, on the Garand, same drill. You had the block here, you press it in place, and let's see, am I getting that right? Yeah. And you just press the whole thing in. And I'm going to be real careful because I don't want this thing to nail my thumb. But that's how it worked. And before we go any further, I will mention the Garand was and is a gas-operated gun. What happens, you have a hole in the barrel, a little bitty hole, and you have a container right here for the gas, a cylinder underneath the barrel, and you have essentially a piston in here and connected to the operating rod, which is right here. So when the gun fires, you have high pressure. Behind the bullet, gas bleeds out here and pushes the operating rod, which works the action. Also, the Garand had excellent peep sights, adjustable for windage and elevation, and we'll notice here on our old Mauser, somewhat cruder sights, although the Mausers were typically very fine guns and extremely accurate. One of the things that was easier to do in the Mauser, you could certainly top off your ammunition. They only held 5 rounds anyway, this one did, and because all you had to do was draw your bolt back. It was a little trickier on the Garand. First of all, you had to pull the bolt back, and you better hold it with your thumb because it'll get you. And of course, we've got about 2 rounds in here, and you can top off your magazine again holding. It's just difficult to do. You can top off your magazine, but it's hard, it's kind of tricky. And another feature of the Garand that, as I understand, was it's just a focal point or just a point of interest. I don't think it was too major, but watch what happens. We got 3 rounds in this gun. Watch what happens when we shoot the last round. See that? We're empty now. And did you hear that clip? It flew out of the gun so you could put another clip into it. Well, that particular noise, as we understand it, if there were some Japanese soldiers or some German soldiers or some other soldiers in the fight against the U.S. service people, they'd hear that, they'd know that at least one rifle was unloaded. And of course, it takes just a moment to reload, but still, we're talking seconds here, several seconds to reach to get another clip and insert it in the gun. You can get to be pretty proficient at it, but under battlefield conditions, certainly it could be tricky. So no matter what system you have, there's always going to be a drawback one way or the other, pluses and minuses. Of course, the easiest thing in the world, if you run a magazine dry on a box magazine, all you have to do is pull one magazine out and put another one in it. And of course, you had, in this case, 20 rounds versus 8 rounds in the Garand. But I tell you what, the Garand is still in this .308 caliber, or certainly in the original 30-06, is still a gun to be reckoned with. And there are some of the third world countries around the world that are still using this as a first line battle rifle. And I tell you what, someone who is proficient with the Garand definitely has to be taken seriously, because these guns were extremely well made. They shot well, they were accurate, very rugged, and very reliable. I tell you what, realize that some of these guns were made in probably the 1930s, certainly the 1940s. Well, heck, friends, that's 50 years ago, and these are still good pieces of equipment. Wonder how many AK-47s 50 years from now are still going to be good. They'd be good if they hadn't been shot. Wonder how many AR-15s, think about that, would have a service record with longevity like this Garand would. Interesting thought. Well, let's run a little test here. Do a little demonstration here that I think will be useful for us. Friends, we have our Mauser. Let's start off with it. We're going to run a test, just see if we can see the advantage that the Garand would have, because this was its real competition, was the bolt action Mauser. The Japanese guns were similar in the way they operate. Of course, you lift, it's all done by hand. And we've got 3 targets, we've got 3 water bottles out here, and again, we're talking aimed shots, because only hits count. Realize in the battlefield situation, you either hit your enemy, or you might not live to see the end of the battle. So let's go ahead and run a little time test here. We have our timer, and we're out here at about 15 yards. But still, you have to aim the gun. You just can't pull trigger. And the timer will start from a loaded position, finger off trigger, muzzle down, and we're going to try and hit all 3 targets in as rapid a time as I can this afternoon. So let's just see let's see how it looks. Go ahead and press the timer. Got 1 chambered now. Low ready position. Okay, 5.53 seconds, and I've got 2 rounds left. I've got 2 left in my gun that I can shoot. All right, let's try 5.53 seconds. So about 5.5 seconds. And honestly, I was working the bolt and aiming. So let's try the same drill with our Garand. Now we're going to try the same drill with our Garand. It's loaded. And you may not see as dramatic an effect because we're using full metal jacket military type ammunition in the Garand. In our Mauser, we'll be using soft point hunting ammunition. For our purposes, it's just fine. In fact, that Mauser bolt action hit almost as hard as that experimental Kimber, didn't it? Anyway, let's see how this looks. 5.53 for the Mauser, 3 shots. So let's try the Garand. Punch our timer. Okay, even though, and we still have 5 cartridges left in the gun, whereas the Mauser had 3. So 3.77 seconds, so almost 2 seconds faster just on 3 shots. And that's not having to work the action for the first shot. So a dramatic increase in speed. And of course, I'm just the average person out here trying this. I know how to sight the gun, of course, but a lot of those soldiers may or may not have been very well trained, and these were much easier for someone who was new to the Army, new to guns in general. It was much easier to teach them to shoot because they didn't have to work that bolt. They could stay on, they didn't have to do this and come back on target. They could just go bang, bang, bang. So a dramatic increase in speed.
Stay tuned for more of the Shootin' Show after these important messages.
The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station.
with one of these great Kimber. This is our shooting show model, full size, the Johnny Rowlands signature model. Well, you can make those hits out there with a mirror at 100 yards, and when you can make consistent hits on targets out at 200 yards, well, just imagine how easy it would be at 25 yards. Or at defense range. If you'd like to have one of our shooting show Kimbers, be it compact or the full-size model, or if you just want the best 1911 that money can buy at a very good price, the best factory production 1911 semi-automatic pistol ever built by any factory, give us a call here at the program, 318-377-5189, or you can write to us, send an FFL, we can wholesale these guns. Send an FFL to the Shooting Show, 327 Irvin Rowland Road in Doberly, Louisiana. The zip code is 71024. You know, friends, I don't know how long we're going to be able to own guns like this Garand, because people like Dianne Feinstein and Barbara Boxer and Chucky Schumer, they see these as assault guns. This is a semi-automatic rifle. I remember very well when we could buy these guns through the Sears Roebuck catalog for $80 some odd back in the 50s. Didn't have to fill out any papers, you just had to be an American citizen. And you know, we didn't have crime problems then, so what's happened to our country? Honestly, the Director of Civilian Marksmanship, if that program is still alive, and I think it may be, you used to be able to buy these Garands at a very reasonable price through the government, but the Clintonians and the anti-gun people are trying. They may have eradicated that program for all I know now, but good story here on this old Mauser. I bought it at Kmart in 1967 for $13, and it's a good shooter. So now, of course, we'd have to get permission from the government. And heck, I never shot anybody with that gun, never even wanted to. Never would want to shoot anybody at all, just because I have 2 or 3 guns. Never wanted to shoot anybody at all. Heck, these are battle rifles. But I never, you know, they never went out there and hurt anybody. Never did, not one time since they've been in my possession. So, unfortunately, our government just no longer trusts us to have guns, and the United Nations doesn't trust us to have guns of any type. So, friends, you can get this one, this 308 conversion, the Navy conversion, that's for the U.S. Navy, not Navy Arms, at Clark Custom Guns, area 318-949-9884. Like I said, if they still have it, the $649 special price for our shooting show audience. It's a real piece of history, and I'll tell you what, a rifle, a semi-automatic rifle that still must be taken seriously today, because they worked and are terrific guns. You know, friends, we're always trying to get the best accuracy, and I'll remind you, this is a little Sure Sight rest. These are such neat little devices for really getting the utmost accuracy. Find out what your gun will do. It is just darn near machine rest. Not quite, but it's just so close. But something I thought we might bring to your attention. You know, we have it sitting up here on our bench rest, and notice that the barrel of the gun right now is being cradled by the rest. Now then, do you think it would make any difference if we were having the barrel sit on the front part of the rest, or maybe we moved it up so the frame here was sitting on the rest? Or maybe instead of a sandbag, maybe we use this little plate here that goes with the Sure Sight, like so? Or do you think if we wore a shooting glove, it would matter? Or even if we change grips to another style of grip? Well, let's take a look. Start right here. We have a number of different loads we're going to try. We'll start off, let's get it in place here. Because honestly, we're always looking for the best tools, but let's see if it makes a difference on where our point of impact is. Yeah, I'd say that's a heavier load than our 45. Yep. Now, friends, I tell you, this was really a revelation for me because, this is one of those things we don't always think about. Now, plus we had a load that I was trying here and didn't really know. I tell you what, with the frame on the rest, we got a 1.65-inch group here. But here was my aim point. Look where it was with the frame on the rest. It was about 2.5 inches or so over here to the right. Now then, let's look here. Bare hand held on the rest. We have up a couple of inches above group here. The barrel on the rest, it hit right just above. It pretty well centered in our target dot here. And then hand held on rest with a glove on. And look where it was here. So, I tell you what, it sure makes you think about any change you make from the style of grip. In fact, we changed this Packmeyer grip for the Hogue, and it moved the point of impact about this much. So it's just amazing, just one of those things that we learned that I think might be useful to some of you. So friends, something we want to realize, that anything you change different about your grip or where you rest the gun is going to change your point of impact a little bit. Now, for any sort of rest, if you want to use the barrel or the frame, you can certainly find out what the gun and load is capable of. But then when you leave the range and you want to maybe shoot the gun out of a deer stand, and this will hold for a rifle as well, although the rifle's not as critical. You certainly want to rest the fore end of a rifle. You never touch anything with the barrel. The barrel's got to be free. But anyway, when you finish at the range as far as doing your accuracy tests or results, what you need to do then is remove the rest and maybe shoot with both hands, like so, maybe both hands resting, and see where your bullet impact is going to be. So you use both hands, and then finally what you need to do again to check to see where your point of impact is going to be, then you need to stand up and hold the gun. You need to do some practicing just holding it, not resting, just holding it, because you might need to use it handheld. You may not have the luxury of using a rest, because that's something that's really important. Out at 25 or 50 yards, we were shooting 25 yards with those groups earlier, but you get on out there a little way and it may move your point of impact a foot or more. Might mean the difference in missing the animal or wounding it or not hitting it or something like that. So something that I certainly found interesting, I wanted to pass on to you folks, and just as we learn more, that's what it's about. We want to be better shooters and do better shooting. Yes, friends, here it is. We have fluid film again. We had run out for a while. Now we have a fresh stock thanks to our good friend Bill Lewis down in Ackworth, Georgia. Friends, this stuff's in a class by itself. We use it on guns, on battery terminals, on camera connectors. It is absolutely in a class by itself. 2 large cans only, $19.95. That includes shipping. Get it through the show here. The Shooting Show, 327 Irvin Rowland Road, Beverly, Louisiana, zip 71024. This is tremendous stuff. You will not be disappointed. Friends, here it is, the Gage shooting bench, and this is the right-hand model. I'm sure he could probably make you one in left hand if you'd so desire, but this is a portable shooting bench you can take to the range, put it in the trunk of your car, put in the back of your truck just very easily. The legs fold up. It is a tremendous piece of work. It is very, very strong and durable, and a lot of us as shooters would really enjoy having one of these portable shooting benches. The Gage shooting bench is available for only $149.95 plus shipping from our friend Carl Gage. You can give him a call, area 608-586-4486. Again, area 608-586-4486, and please tell him you saw it on our show.
Stay tuned for more of the Shootin' Show after these important messages.
The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station.
And friends, you know, we have talked about Clark Custom Guns for years on our program here, and they can be reached in Princeton, Louisiana, area 318-949-9884. Here's one of the new guns they're doing. This is a meltdown on STI Miniature 9. And, of course, they have some great deals on some of the Benelli shotguns, including some Super Black Eagles that shoot 3.5-inch shells. They have a complete line of new and used handguns, semi-automatics, and revolvers. Also, you'll see here we have Mr. Clark coming up next. He actually is out there helping customers. One of the nicest people we've ever met in this business. They have a very fine and courteous staff. A full line of reloading equipment, powders. My goodness, if you need it, Clark Custom Guns probably has it with their amazing stock. And right now, here's Kay Clark Michalik, and of course that's Renee Tyson in the background. Kay's doing her job when she's not winning championships. Here's her husband, Jerry Michalik. This is what he does when he's not out shooting, winning championships. And Jim Clark Jr., the same drill. They actually are working gunsmiths in addition to being champion shooters. I want to remind you that Clark Custom Guns has a complete machine shop, can do all kinds of work on revolvers and semi-automatic pistols. Please give them a call, friends, area 318-949-9884, and please tell them you saw it here on our show. Friends, we hope you're enjoying our program today. The judge is in Las Vegas, actually, this week. He went out to the Comdex convention, which is a gigantic computer show, and I think he's going on to Idaho for a few days to visit with his daughter up there, and certainly I hope he has a safe trip. You know, we're here again this week because some of you were nice enough to contribute what you could to keep us on the air. And this is one of the most difficult things that I guess I have to deal with, is when someone calls me up and says, Johnny, we're losing the fight. I say, yes, we are. Johnny, do you think they're going to take our guns away? I said, yeah, I do, unless something changes. And they'll say, Johnny, what in the world? We're being overpowered. I said, yes, we are. But then I come back and say, but we can do something about it. Let me tell you what, friends, we haven't quit. We're not defeated. I mean, listen to the coach here. You know, because that's what I feel like sometimes, is like the coach used to talk to us back when I played a little basketball, and a lot of times we would think that we were beaten. But the key to it was we won a lot of games simply because we didn't quit. That's the way it's been on this television program. We simply have refused to quit, along with you, because this is a joint effort between so many of you out there and us here on this project. You know, friends, every time our program airs, we spread more of the truth about what guns are for. I just told you earlier in the show today about what I saw on Good Morning America, how guns were being vilified. That, oh, if you're going to have a gun in your home, it should be locked up in the ammunition, locked in one place. Let's lock it up so it'll be safe. Wait a minute, friends. Don't we have guns for home defense, for self-defense? Well, how are you going to defend your home if all your guns are locked up and the ammo's locked somewhere else? But you see, we're being brainwashed a little bit at a time. These well-meaning appearing people come out and say, oh, well, if you want to have guns, that's okay, but they've got to be locked up. Ammunition's got to be stored separate. Wait a minute. No. It talks about how children are just too curious for them to be around guns. They're just too curious. They can't control themselves. Well, let me ask you this. How many times have you seen kids playing and they just can't wait for their parents' back to be turned so they can run, get a coat hanger, and stick it in a wall socket? Oh, boy, wouldn't that be fun? But children don't do that because they've been taught not to. See, the problem here in our country is we're not able to teach the children about gun safety because the mainline media, the major networks, simply will not sell time. You know, the NRA has had some programs in the past that actually they made a half-hearted effort anyway, or some kind of effort to get on and have some safety programs, but the major networks will not sell them time. Doesn't matter. So don't worry, those folks at the NRA are going to find other ways to spend your money. But I can't change that. All I can do is get on television as many places in America as we possibly can and reach as many people as is possible and tell them the truth. And you know what? If we are on television enough, and we can buy our own satellite time, see, we can do that. A lot of these cable companies out there will carry our program if they know it's available and they can get it.
And that way we can reach more and more people. There's only one key to do that. The key is to have enough funding, enough money to stay on TV and to get on in more markets and to get on more hours in the day. Now, this is something we can do. I used to think that the manufacturers, when I first started the project, I said, my gosh, that we will have sponsors that will be jumping through hoops to help the shooting show stay on the air and help us reach people. Not so. One, so many of the manufacturers are not even shooters themselves. They don't understand or don't care about the issue, and the ones that do, so many of them are scared to death to stand up and make a statement because they're afraid of the government. Literally, friends, we're seeing fear interfering with our freedom of speech. Now, we're seeing that right here in America. This is America, you know, but doggone it, we're on today. I don't know about next week. I don't know. I know, like I said earlier in the show today, we're going to try. If we get enough money in, if we can get some contributions, our sponsors on the program, please remember them, the folks, and some of them are certainly smaller sponsors, but that's okay. That's okay. Please remember them if you need their products. Yes, we have fluid film again, and, well, we have the brick. Now, I don't know if it's going to work or not, but it's an idea, because a number of folks that watch our program do not want a check stub that says anything to do with guns or shooting, but they're sympathetic to our cause and would even like to help on our cause. So we'll sell you a brick. Now, this brick may be worth $50, and certainly we'll probably put it's going to be worth at least $50 probably, but it could be worth a lot more. It could be worth $5,000. Somebody out there might want to pay $10,000 for this brick, and you don't have to make a check out to the shooting show, make it out to me. And you know, I promise you, you know where the money is going to go, because we want to stay on the air. We want to save our freedom. We want to save our gun rights. And if you'd like to buy a brick, well, you can just put on your check for building materials. Heck, you might be able to write this off. It is certainly a piece of art, because each brick will be a little bit different. They're kind of like us. And you know, it is very symbolic of what our Second Amendment is to our Constitution. So maybe we can buy some bricks, and we can put some bricks back in that wall against the forces that would enslave us, the forces that would disarm us, the forces that would run our lives for us. You know, I just don't want to be a slave. I just never have. Slavery went out in the United States some time ago, and I don't think any of you want to be slaves either. And as long as we have access to personally owned firearms, we don't have to be here in this country, friends. We don't have to be. Will you help us? Want to buy a brick? So, like I said, you can just write on your check building materials. You can write landscaping materials. Heck, you could put a home improvement, whatever, you know, something like that. I mean, you can write that on your check if you'd like, and we'll send you a brick. But if you can help us, friends, if you can join, if you don't mind being associated with guns and shooting and gun rights, you can join our Gun on the Rights Association, the GRA, and it's $50 a year. Our life memberships are still $300 because we feel this way. That would equate to about 6 years, $50 a year. 6 times 5 is $3,300. And you don't have to worry if we don't make some headway, if we don't make some points for our side, and if we don't do it in the near future, we won't have guns left. So there won't be a need for more years than that in our Gun on the Rights Association, because what is a Gun on the Rights Association if you're not allowed to possess guns? It's not supposed to be that way, friends. We can do something. Please, wherever you are out there, don't give up. Don't give up. Even if we can't stay on the air, we're not going to give up. Will you please help us? Will you help us? I don't know if we'll be on next week or not. Right now, we don't have the money. But we hope that enough somebody's out there will help us to stay on the air. If we're on again next week, we'll be back on G6 Channel 11, Galaxy 6 Channel 11. Then one more week, we're going to be bounced to T5, and where you're watching us tonight, T5 Channel 24. And then we're supposed to be, if we can stay on the air, we're supposed to be back on G6 Channel 11. Please don't give up. Please don't quit on us. We're not going to quit on you. Please don't give up. Even if we can't stay on the air, we're not going to quit. Because, friends, I tell you what, even if we lose, you know, I want to be able to say that I did the best I could, even if we lose. Now, I don't want to lose. I'm not a good loser. when it comes to liberty, to freedom, to the future of our country, I'm a horrible loser. And I think a lot of you are too. Will you please help us if you can? Will you please help us? You can buy a brick. You can join our GRA, 327 Irvin Rowlands Road in Dubberly, Louisiana. Whatever you can do, friends, but we're not going to quit. We ask that you help us if you can.
Friends, we've got a couple of minutes left in the program. Let's visit with Brent Tyson again, champion shooter out at Clark Custom Guns.
I tell you what, friends, this is such a pretty day out here at Clark's, isn't it not?
Yeah, it's really nice. It's beautiful.
Wish you could all be here, but since we're coming to your house. Okay. Well, Brent, you know, I tell you, I'm certainly impressed with your performance, and you've certainly seen the fine Kimber guns, and
right, I have.
Of course, I happen to have.
You just happen to have one.
Happen to have our shooting show Kimber here, and I tell you, I wish you'd shoot it.
I'd love
just
to
compare it.
I'd love to. I love the single stack 45, Johnny, and this is as good as you can get from a factory gun.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, because we're not paying him to say that, friends. The Kimbers are just really excellent guns.
It really
out
is.
Of the box.
You can't get any better.
Tell you what, Brent, actually someone can buy a stock Kimber and be competitive if they work at it.
Sure they could.
Be competitive in the limited classes.
Right. I got my master class card in IPSC with a single stack 45, not much different from this one.
Oh, but one that I dare say you had quite a bit of more modification, because these guns you have to do a doggone thing to them.
Actually, Johnny, mine didn't have much more modification than this gun. I mean, really? Your gun has most of the features my gun has.
Out of the box.
Right out of the box.
Well, now you think it'll fit in your holster here?
Well, it should. It's built for the 1911 style gun. There may be a slight bit of difference from the way the Safariland holster holds the trigger. The STI trigger is squared, where your Kimber gun here has the standard 1911
more standard, right?
Rounded trigger job.
Well, you're gonna do maybe a build drill or so.
Well, we'll try to do a build drill with your gun. I'd like to shoot it and see what I can do with it under a high speed situation.
All right.
Okay, Johnny, we're going to try the same build drill that we tried at the beginning of your show with your nice Kimber, and it's a little bit unfamiliar to me the way you got it set up.
Well, plus it's a 45 caliber. We're going to have a little more recoil in it.
It should have a little more bullet impulse than the 40, but you can watch with your camera to see how it jumps in my hand, and people at home can compare it to the 40 that I shot earlier. All right, I'll use my self-start technique here.
Well, sir, it sounded fast.
It was 1.83, so it was right about the same speeds that I'm running with a 40 caliber gun. Well, Johnny, I'm pretty happy with your gun. I'm not really familiar with it. It feels a little bit different than the way my gun is set up, but after a couple of tries, we get a nice build drill right at the time we want with all 8 hits, and you can't ask for any more than that.
And now for our support group, a group of smaller sponsors but very important sponsors to help us stay on the air. We have Steadcraft, a custom machine shop there in Torrington, Connecticut. Their number is area 860-496-7001. And we have our good friend Dennis Crocker, who is a firearms trainer in South Carolina, authorized to go throughout the state and train in firearms handling and safety. His number is area 864-587-8722. We have Custom Leatherwork and Saddlery in Denham Springs, Louisiana. Dennis and Jeannie Ritchie. They do all kinds of custom leather work. You can give them a call at area 504-667-9225. And if you need your gun stock painted, well, the folks at Camouflage Technologies do a super job. Their number is area 909-674-6488. And if you like to view some great artwork there on the internet, you can go to the Flying Horse Gallery's internet site there. You can find them at www.flyinghorse.net. And we want to remember our friend Bruce Warren with BC Armory there in East Leroy, Michigan. He does all kinds of work on pistols and on revolvers. You can call Bruce at area 616-729-5508. Friends, we hope you've enjoyed our program today. Please remember our radio show on the American Freedom Network from noon until 2 o'clock on Sundays. That's Eastern Time. You can find us on satellite there at SpaceNet 4, channel 19, 5.82 audio. And also remember, if we can stay on, help us if you can. If we can stay on, we'll have another gospel show on G6 Channel 5 Sunday morning from 10 to 10:30 Eastern Time. And remember, next week, if we can be back on the air, we'll be on G6 Channel 11. We're only bounced one more week, but hopefully we'll be back next week. Thanks again for being with us, friends. We look forward to seeing you on the next program.